The International School for Development Justice at UWI presents the SDGs and You, Making Connections for Progress webinar series. Starting September 17th and continuing on every third Wednesday of the month, we explore the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, what they are, their impact on Caribbean people, and the progress and challenges we face. Join us, ask questions, share your story, and make connections for progress. The SDGs and You webinar series. Register today. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are talking about SDG 10. This is the SDGs and You, Making Connections for Progress, and we are privileged to have Dr. Jonas Richards. Dr. Jonas Richard is the Professor of Social Work and Director of the Center for Life Skills Education at Kristu Jayanti University, Bengaluru, India. A specialist in psychosocial well-being, inclusion, and community-based research, he brings over 25 years of experience in program design, capacity building, and impact evaluation. Dr. Jonas has led over 30 research projects and delivered over 1,000 training sessions for educators, frontline workers, and organizations, with a focus on life skills, mental health, and equitable access to services. As coordinator of the United Nations Academic Impact Hub for SDG 10 at KJU, he advances academic community partnerships and scalable interventions that address structural and social drivers of inequality. His presentation will draw on institutional case studies and evidence-based strategies that universities and civil society can deploy to reduce inequalities at local and regional levels. So without further ado, I hand it over to Dr. Jonas Richards. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Laura. I would start the presentation now. Greetings from Kristu Jayanti University, Bangalore, India. I am Dr. Jonas Richard A, representing Kristu Jayanti University, which is the United Nations Academic Impact Hub for SDG 10. We are privileged to be part of this SDG webinar series so that we could share some of our efforts, simple efforts, what we are doing in order to advance the Sustainable Development Goal. This would be the discussion track that we are going to discuss today. I would give a brief outline on what Sustainable Development Goals are, especially those who are newly getting introduced, and the evolution of Sustainable Development Goals. Then move on, what are specifically the difference between SDGs, MDGs. This basic understanding of the difference is essential, crucial to know how important these Sustainable Development Goals are, so that the academic institutions, students, and the other stakeholders can understand the SDGs with a specific reference to their own local realities and communities and contribute accordingly. I would also touch upon the SDG 10 and its relevance to Indian context, since I represent India, and also the global context. And I will also speak on what is the role of higher educational institutions, universities and colleges, and how they can advance Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, I would present the case study of my university, Kristu Jayanti University, India, and what we do in order to advance Sustainable Development Goals. And I would be ending my presentation today with an invitation to partner with us, and how you as an individual, as an organization, as an higher educational institution can connect with us, partner with us, so that we can collectively contribute towards this Global Agenda 2030. Before we proceed, it is good to know the background of Sustainable Development Goals. The professors and higher education experts will agree with me the starting of the League of Nations. After the World War I, few countries came together to plan and to put an end to world wars. The objective of the League of Nations was to prevent future wars and no more wars. That was the objectives. And in 1945, again, this became formally established as United Nations. And of course, we had another World War II. And in 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in 2000, fast forward, we went for something called Millennium Development Goals. Now, what is the purpose of these goals? These goals are primarily to help developing nations to eradicate poverty and to promote equality so that people are able to come up to the level of developed nations. Please remember the original purpose for which the League of Nations, the United Nations, was initiated, the putting an end to the war. We know what is the current reality. As we talk today, either there is a war going on or countries are getting ready for war. There are peace talks that are being initiated. So therefore, as a global citizens, as a collective effort, we are yet to achieve the objective of preventing war. In the meantime, there are other global realities. For example, reducing poverty, putting an end to corruption, or promoting equality, reducing inequalities. So these have become major challenges which are preventing the nations and the citizens to achieve its full nations. So currently, in 2015, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals were come up, and every country in the world, all the member countries of United Nations are expected to contribute. And this is the background with which today we are talking about Sustainable Development Goal. Before I get into SDG 10, I would like to give the glimpse of all the 17 SDGs. All of us are aware, SDG 1 is no poverty, SDG 2, zero hunger. Now, what is the difference between 1 and 2? 1 is eradicating poverty, and SDG 2 is making sure people, children, are able to have nutritious food. And SDG focuses on good health and well-being. When we say health, it is not only physical health, but also mental health. And SDG 4 focuses on quality education. It is not only right to education, but also right to right education, meaning it is not just enough to give the education, but making sure every child gets a quality education at an affordable cost or at a free level. And SDG 5, we are focusing on gender equality. Traditionally, the gender of male, female, we are moving beyond that inclusion, including the third gender and the other gender, people with the gender preferences, so that everybody has a place to live on this earth and they are treated with dignified manner in our own societies. And SDG 6 talks about clean water and sanitation, and SDG 7, we are focusing on affordable energy, clean energy, going for more of the natural sources of energy resources. And SDG 8, we are focusing on decent work and economic growth. SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, where the countries are encouraged to contribute, support each other countries so that industries survive, industries thrive, so that we can help more people to get decent and economic growth with a decent employment. And of course, the SDG 10, reduced inequalities, I will speak more about it today in my presentation. And SDG 11 directly talks about sustainable cities and communities. And SDG 12 talks about responsible consumption and production. SDG 13, climate action. SDG 4, life below water. It's a myth people misunderstand. Human beings misunderstand that Earth is only for us. No other species has no right to live. So SDG very strongly focuses that every species has a place. Human being is one of them. And of course, we talk about SDG 15, which is life on land, and SDG 16, which is the need of the hour, and peace, justice, and strong institution, and 17, partnerships for the goals, meaning working together so that institutions can come together in order to work towards achievement of sustainable development goals. And before we move, we also know these are the 8 Millennium Development Goals. If you look at closely, these Millennium Development Goals focused primarily on eradicating poverty, hunger, and reducing child mortality, and more related to the issues and concerns of developing nations. Whereas SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, talk about every country, whether you are a rich nation or a poor nation, we can contribute and we have to help each nation, each other countries in order to achieve these 17 goals so that everybody lives. Now, what primarily as an university, whether it is Christu Jayanti University or University of West Indies, what educational institutions can do primarily, since it is an academic seminar? 4 things they can do. Number 1, research. Academic institutions are expected to contribute interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, intercontinental researchers directly related to sustainable development goals. This is what is the expectation of United Nations and United Nations academic impact. And these researchers are not just researchers that are specific to one particular stakeholders, but multiple stakeholders, so that everybody has a possibility of benefiting from the knowledge of academic institution. And second, and the more important thing these academic institutions are expected to do is designing and delivering SDG integrated curriculum, which means the curriculum, the assessment, and the other academic procedures can be, should be related to sustainable development goals. In fact, some of the universities are very specific, offering credit programs and undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs exclusively on sustainable development goals with specific reference to individuals, groups, and communities and how they can contribute in order to achieve the sustainable development goals. The third area what academic institutions can contribute is creating a SDG friendly campuses and within the campuses. That means having a net zero emission waste, and every practices within the universities can be a sustainable practices. Adopting biodiversity practices within the campus and going for green buildings, green initiatives, so that the campuses are more aligned to the UN objective of Sustainable Development Goals. And the last contribution, what academic institutions can contribute is extensively involving in community outreach programs, whether it is with the local governments or collaborating with the industries or initiating voluntary projects, neighborhood communities, and above all, preparing students as a global citizens with more civic responsibilities. Now, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, the academic institutions are primarily focused on and rely on these four pillars. Now, let us look at what exactly is Sustainable Development Goals and with specific reference to what I have just shared about the role of academic institutions. The SDG 10 focuses on reducing inequality within and among the countries. What does it mean? That means primarily two directions. One, reducing the gap that separate people within one country. Within a country, how do you reduce the gap? And the second, reducing the gap between rich and poor nations. So rich nations and poor nations, how far we make an effort? One, helping the developed nations to come down to the level of developing nations. Second, helping the developing nations so that they are able to narrow down the gap, the differences between the haves and have-nots, developed and developing, so that no one is left behind. Meaning, every citizen of this global has an opportunity to participate in the development process both inside their country and outside the country. So two is one, reducing inequality within the country, and second, reducing the gap between the wealth between the developed and developing nations. Let's look at this quick statistics. Okay, inequality. How, why we are talking so much about SDG 10 and what is the need? Okay, 1 in 5 people have globally, okay, globally, 1 in 5 people have reported experiencing discrimination in the past year. Now it is rising to 24.3 in the last in the least developed countries. When you take the index, the least developed nations and the people, 1 in 5 are experiencing discrimination because of various things. 440 refugees per 100,000 people worldwide by mid-2025. Looking at the current scenario, global scenario of wars, migrants, refugees, this number is on the increase. This is a global concern. So therefore, reduced inequality is all the more important in the current context. 6.36% was the average cost of sending at least $200 as a remittance in the last third quarter in 2025. That means when you want to send $200 from a developed nation to a developing nation, that is inter-country transfer of for any support, financial support, at least 6.36 of the total cost is the charges that have to be paid. So friends, look at this slide little closely. I'm going to talk about this SDG 10 and with a specific target talk about these 10 targets. Okay, so it has got 7 targets, and the first one is 10.1, which is growing income of the bottom 40% faster than the national average. That means out of 100%, the 40% below, not the above 60, and how do we help them to grow their income within this 2030. And 10.2 is empowering social, economic, and political inclusion of all. Sometimes it is easier to achieve social, economic, but political inclusion is the need. Only political empowerment gives the real power to people. People, the developing nations, the marginalized, underprivileged within the countries, unless they have the political power, it is likely very difficult to achieve SDG 10. 10.3 talks about equal opportunity, whether it is based on religion, whether it is based on haves and have-nots, whether it is based on gender, whether it is based on the literacy level, equal opportunity, and ending discriminatory practices, especially if there are any laws specifically law for a particular community, law for a particular religion, which are discriminatory, that has to be ended, and specific practices. And 10.4 talks about adopting this fiscal, wage, and social protection for policies and equality. I know in many of the developing nations, there is a same work being done by a man and a woman. There is a big gender pay gap in most of the industries. This 10.4 addresses this gender pay gap between the different gender for the equal work done. And 10.5 invites us to improve regulations of global financial markets. When we say global financial markets, it helps people to reduce the inequality between countries. Now, if you closely look at the slide, between 10.1 to 10.4, it is more of within the nations, 10.5 to 10.7, more with among the nations. 10.6 talks about enhancing developing countries' voices in global institutions. How much do they have the representation? How much are they getting the opportunity to voice their concerns at the global level? And 10.7 talks about the special treatment of aid flowing, granting aid flowing between countries and cheaper remittances for the developing countries at 3 levels. Look at this slide. This is what it talks about. 10.7a talks about special treatment for aid inflows for cheaper remittances for developing countries. Here, the focus is on providing financial and technical support to developing countries. It is between the countries. And 10.b focus on the same thing, helping special treatment and aid inflows to making it cheaper for the migrants. As we know, the migrations and refugees are on the increases because of the various countries getting into war. Uncertainty has become a major concern for most of the countries, especially the final sufferers of women, children, and what we call it MVG, most vulnerable groups. So that talks about that. And 10.c talks about special treatment and aid inflows for cheaper remittances for developing states among the countries, so that it involving, reforming international financial institutions, World Bank, IMF, so that there is a better support to the developing nations financially, so that remittances becoming cheaper. So, as I had already said about what we can do as a developing nations, One, focus extensively on researches with specific reference to sustainable development goals. And the second, we can focus more SDG integrated curriculum. And third one, community outreach programs. And the last one, using advocacy as a method for institutional voice and influencing policy and public discourse on inclusion. Meaning, academic institutions should be like a think tank contributing towards reducing inequalities, working closely with the local and international institutions. This is what I have said, friends. I have just put it in a infographic way. So going for more and more innovations and creating more of campus operations in management, SDG related. Third one, purely directly related to education and teaching, SDG related. And the last one, the level of community engagement. Any institution, unless it involves itself with the neighborhood community in their community outreach programs or not developing the neighborhood community, probably the institution is not doing its original purpose. Now, this is me as Christu Jayanti University. This is how we do in a small way what we can contribute towards SDG initiative. Number one, we have established a Center for Life Skills Education, which primarily focuses on skilling the marginalized migrants, refugees in our neighborhood communities and within the our state, so that people develop the financial literacy and skill to get a better employment. Better employment results in better pay and their life condition improves. Second, what we do is SDG related curriculum. All our programs, we have about 100 plus programs in our university. Every program, this element of sustainable development goal is there. The Department of Social Work promotes and monitors. Apart from that, the United Nations Academic Impact Hub oversees every department's syllabus curriculum on sustainable development goal. And the third one is mandatory community outreach, meaning every student is expected, it's a case study. Every student is expected to spend 30 hours, which we call it a service learning. And unless the student volunteers within the community, those 2 credits are not given. Meaning the student, irrespective of what their management, commerce, psychology, bioscience, environmental, all the students are expected and they do that. And the major thing, the last one, what we do is continuous and constant research on marginalized group, women, children, transgender, underprivileged, financially illiterate, and so migrants, the street vendors. These people are given these additional support and constant research is given. And I have the privilege of coordinating. And thank you so much for having recognized Christu Jayanti University to be part of your webinar series so that we are able to contribute and share what we have done. This is what I said. We had, sir, our 3rd term, and from 2018 to 21, we were nominated as the first SDG hub and 2nd term, and right now we are contributing as a SDG hub for a 3rd term. We primarily, earlier first 2 term, we were given SDG 1, no poverty. Now we as with other vice chairs and chairs, we are able to contribute. I also would like to invite, your university. We would be very, very happy to collaborate and cooperate, and let's see how we can contribute Lot of areas that we can work together as a like-minded contributing. So this one is for the students who are SDG champions. So till now I spoke about what academic institutions can do. Now my suggestions, what as a student, irrespective of your branch of study, irrespective of your discipline, as a global citizen, it is our civic and ethical responsibility, irrespective of who you are, whether you are an undergraduate student or a PhD scholar. These are the few things that we can contribute. Number one, learn completely about sustainable development goal. Know it fully. If there are short-term courses, please take it up. We offer free online certificate course on SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. We invite, it's a free program. You can register online, self-paced learning. At the end of the program, you are certified with the UN support that you are a US SDG certified sustainable as student. And second area, in your own way, speak up wherever there is a discrimination. Discrimination need not be very big thing in your own neighborhood, in your own classroom. Okay, speak up when you notice discriminatory practices. Okay, when I do not react towards small discriminatory practices, how am I going to talk about big discriminatory? Very often it is very easy to talk about between countries, between states, but what happens within my own family? Okay, if I am a parent, how do I treat whether boy child or a girl child? And how do I treat whether a child who studies well, a child who is not so steady, a child who is differently abled? So a lot of things that we can talk about. Third one, as a student, please volunteer. Today, you are living in the best time of the history where this after COVID, we have realized a lot of things can be done even online. Not physically, you don't have to go. Virtually, so many volunteering opportunities are available. International NGOs, so many projects that you can volunteer. And another area as a student that you can contribute is whatever research that you do, think if at least one element of your research can be related to sustainable development goals. Meaning, any research that you carry out, link it with the implications for sustainable development goals. So that way, we are directly or indirectly contributing towards SDG. And advocate, find out local institutions, and in your place, wherever you are there, advocate equality and reduce inequalities. And the last one, partner with UNAI Hub. You are with your university, which is known for doing law. This is a wonderful program which your university has appreciated. I would like to place on record my appreciation, the wonderful work Dr. Laura and the team doing in order to promote this sustainable development goals, not only for your university and also to anybody. I'm going to share this YouTube link with all my social work students. I'm going to make it as a short assignments. I'm going to ask them to read and come out with what is their learning. Okay, so you can partner. Today it is easy. So friends, as we come to the end of the presentation, once again, I am happy and grateful to your university, University of West Indies, for having given me this opportunity. And these are the few key takeaways. So, sustainable development goals, it is not just only for the countries, nations, it is for everyone. As long as we are the global citizens, everybody can contribute. And there are 10 targets are there, different targets are there, we can always contribute. Now, higher education institutions have a bigger role to play, and we can work together and collaborate. And the last, is my invitation to partner with us, to invite you. If you think that we can work together, you are most welcome to partner with us. We would be very, very, very happy, either as an individual or as an organization or as a particular department. We would be happy to work together for joint conferences or being a resource persons for different events or any projects that you think our students would benefit. So once again, thank you, Dr. Laura, for this wonderful opportunity to interact with you and your team, and looking forward to more partnerships, collaborations, and which directly and indirectly contributes towards sustainable development goals. Once again, greetings and gratitude from Christu Jayanti University, India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jonas Richard. That was a very well done presentation, and I really appreciate the offer to collaborate. Thank you so much for coming today. It has been a distinct pleasure. All right, with no further ado, then we are going to close this part of the presentation. I will point you to this one place. This presentation was hosted by the International School for Development Justice, which is the website that you can see on your screen now. The program that is related to this is Gender Justice Activism and Sustainable Development. These are graduate programs. We have certificates, we have diplomas, and we have full-length master's programs, all done online. I put the link in the chat so you can take a look. And we are looking forward to receiving you as students. If you have questions, you can reach out to me or anyone else on the team. So thank you so much for coming today. I see one comment in the chat. All right, thank you. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. And Dr. Jonas, if you can stay on for 1 minute. Thank you, Renee. We'll see you again another time. Hopefully at the next webinar, which will be on the third Wednesday of the next month, third Wednesday of September. Hope to see you then.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.